Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at unlikely actors who kicked ass in fight scenes. It's not at all surprising when you see an accomplished martial artist like Jason Statham or Chuck Norris handing out beatdowns in action movies, but imagine seeing Danny Tanner from Full House convincingly mixing it up with a horde of ninjas. That would completely blow your mind. Now, to be clear, Bob Saget is not actually an action star. That was just a hypothetical example used to illustrate the theme of this video, but really, that would be pretty awesome, right? When you see a poorly done fight scene, it's glaringly obvious. The director is forced to use a variety of camera tricks to hide that the actors can't actually fight. They'll use quick cuts, close-ups, and plenty of shots from the back so they can hide the stunt performers. The movies in this list notably did not have to use these deceptive techniques. Instead, the stars worked their asses off, training for months, sometimes years in advance. And so let's begin the countdown. There's good reason this role appears on our list. Any movie with realistic, convincing fight scenes starring Styles from MTV's Teen Wolf remake is, well, precisely what this list is all about. Even in his Maze Runner series, Dillon's not what anybody would call a badass. I mean, it was the Maze Runner, not the Maze Fighter, right? Yet for 2017's American Assassin, you could tell he really put in the work ahead of time. The actor's intense training is evident in both the gunfights and the fistfights as well. O'Brien plays a young Mitch Rapp, who any watchers out there that actually still read books, do people still read books nowadays? You may recognize him from the best-selling action-adventure series by Vince Flynn. This was in the beginning of his career, so that explains why he's so young, and it kind of explains how he became the completely awesome, badass assassin agent that he is in the book series. Number 9, Peter Griffin. Who knew he could throw down so hard? Usually, Peter's slovenly appearance and sedentary lifestyle combine to make him kind of a chubby wimp. But when confronted with a menacing 6-foot-tall chicken, it's like some kind of badass switch flips in his head. Griffin has had violent run-ins with Ernie the Giant Chicken on 3 different occasions on the show, each one of them turning into lengthy, epic slobber knockers. Fun fact, like many of the actors on this list, Peter Griffin engaged in months of intense training in preparation for these fight scenes, consisting primarily of eating way too much carb-heavy food, drinking lots of beer, and generally sitting around on the couch for unseemly amounts of time each day. Before we move on to the next item on our list, I'd like to take a moment to ask that you remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. And now, on to sweet, sensitive, dorky John Cusack playing a kickboxing hitman. Prior to the 1997 release of Grosse Point Blank, the incredible dark comedy that it is, Cusack was very much typecasted as the lovable loser. The closest he really came to any kind of action role was as Lloyd Dobler in Say Anything, and though still nerdy and lovable, Dobler was also an aspiring kickboxer. Interestingly enough, it was while training for that role specifically that Cusack got interested in the sport of kickboxing. Currently, he's been training for over 20 years and he holds a 6th-degree black belt. Cusack usually keeps his fighting skills separate from his acting, but he puts them on full display in Grosse Point Blank. Fun fact, the assassin that Cusack fights in this scene and eventually kills with a ballpoint pen is Benny the Jet Urquidez, the world champion kickboxer who originally trained him for Say Anything and continues to be his instructor and friend to this day. NEESON cuts a pretty imposing figure, standing at 6'4" tall, and he was a boxer in his youth, so basically he's the kind of guy that most people would not want to mess with. Plus, he's no stranger to action roles either, such as Claymore-wielding Rob Roy, or as a lightsaber-wielding Jedi Master. But a martial artist at age 55? Doubters were quickly disabused of such notions after seeing the first film of the Taken series. NEESON put on a fight clinic, displaying his very particular set of skills on dozens of nefarious kidnappers. The actor trained hard before each of the Taken movies, focusing primarily on Chinese Wing Chun and Indonesian Pencak Silat fight styles. As impressive as NEESON's work ethic and dedication to his craft are, you really have to wonder about his parenting skills in those movies. I mean, why does his daughter keep getting kidnapped? This is not normal. Sure, Denzel Washington is a hell of an actor. He has the multiple Academy Awards to prove it. He's also no stranger to playing tough guys, even engaging in the occasional brawl in his movies. But when Denzel decides to play the role of somebody with fists of fury, actual martial arts skills, he makes it so convincing that you'd think he's been training in martial arts for his entire life. Nowadays, after seeing Denzel absolutely wiping the floor with dozens of bad guys in his Equalizer movies, it's hard to remember a time when his repertoire didn't include realistic looking martial art fight scenes. But that was not always the case. It was 2010's The Book of Eli that first showcased what Denzel could do with months of intense training and coaching from some of the best fight instructors in Hollywood. Playing a wasteland wanderer on a mission from God, Denzel repeatedly finds himself in life or death scraps with apocalyptic savages, insane preachers, and surly bar patrons. And fun fact, spoiler, he was blind the whole time. Oh my god, he was blind. He was blind. Director Matthew Vaughn convinced Colin Firth to take on this role by pointing out that he's the absolute last person anyone would expect. And we thoroughly agree with this sentiment. Prior to Kingsman, Firth had built up a solid body of work playing stodgy, proper, stick-up-the-butt Brits. Then, in 2014, Firth took on the role of Harry Hart for this movie, a fascinating mix of elegant super spy and walking kung fu death machine. It's both shocking and thoroughly entertaining to see the Oscar-winning thespian methodically destroying a pub full of hooligans, and even more so when he turns into a robotic, mind-controlled killing machine in the church massacre set piece. According to Firth, to prepare for the role, he spent 6 months, 3 hours a day, every day learning how to make the fight scenes look believable. Well done, sir. Well done. Matt Damon as an ass-whooping super agent.
Matt Damon!
I mean, we've all seen him doing it now for years, but when the first film in the Jason Bourne series was originally announced, it seemed a little bit hard to believe.
Because I'm not a freak. I'm a good person.
You know, I just thought that Matt Damon was like a Streisand, but I think that he's rocking the shit in this one.
I mean, sure, there was Good Will Hunting, he got into a few street brawls and fights in that movie, but Damon as a convincing action movie star? It seemed unlikely. Being interviewed for the movie, Damon said his training regimen consisted of doing an hour and a half of boxing followed by an hour and a half of martial arts, then spending the rest of the day in the desert with an ex-SWAT guy shooting guns. You can see how well that preparation paid off. Just watch any of the Bourne movies. Except that Jeremy Renner one, The Bourne Legacy. Don't watch that one. This is one of those movies that not enough people have seen, but they damn sure should have. Tommy Lee Jones plays an ex-military hand-to-hand and survival skills trainer. He's brought back into the action when one of his star pupils, played by Benicio del Toro, needs to be hunted down and captured. Benicio plays an ex-soldier who's gone violently crazy due to PTSD, or maybe he's legitimately defending himself from government assassins. The movie never actually tells you which it really is, leaving it completely ambiguous. Rather than solve this mystery or waste any time developing the characters overly much, the hunted just dives right into the action. And this is actually more of a negative than a positive trait for the movie as a whole, but it did result in some truly epic action scenes. The last 20 minutes of this non-stop thrill ride culminates in the student having to battle the master, in what turns out to be the most skillful, most insanely brutal knife fight ever seen in any movie. The fight choreography heavily emphasizes Filipino fighting styles, and you can see the work that both of these actors put in to make it look realistic. Everyone got cut, everyone bled horribly. It was absolutely fantastic. When Keanu decided to up his game from clueless slacker to action star for blockbusters like Speed and Point Break, it was kind of hard to believe at the time. I mean, Ted Theodore Logan, an action movie? Really? But like the pro actor he is, he pulled it off like a champ. For The Matrix, Keanu further solidified his place as an action movie superstar. This movie's production is notorious for the amount of training the actors had to do prior to filming. But Keanu attained truly legendary action hero status with his John Wick series. The amount of pain, sweat, and dedication he puts into training for these movies is frighteningly impressive, and he really puts most other actors to shame. Oh, Mr. Pretentious Actor, you lived as a homeless person for 3 days to prepare for your big movie role? Screw that. Look at what Keanu did before John Wick and Despair. We saw the previews for Nobody and were like, wait, why is Better Call Saul absolutely destroying those 5 thugs in the tight confines of a city bus? It made no sense. That is why Bob Odenkirk's performance in 2021's Nobody earns the top spot on this list. In fact, the inspiration to make this video came after watching his mind-blowing performance. Now, throughout his career, Odenkirk has been primarily known as a comedic writer and actor, most notably for the sketch comedy cable series Mr. Show with Bob and Dave. And more recently, he branched into more dramatic roles, like playing Saul Goodman in both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Notably, none of these roles had Bob playing any sort of a tough guy. So the career was going fantastically well, definitely on the upswing. Bob had steady work on a couple of critically acclaimed award-winning shows, one of which he plays the lead role on. After finally achieving fame and fortune following decades of grinding away, most 56-year-old actors would kick back and enjoy the ride a little bit. But not Odenkirk. What does he do instead? He decides to put in 2 years of intense fight training in order to prepare for a role that absolutely no one expected to see him in. Ever. In interviews, Odenkirk talks about how the hardest part wasn't the physical stress of the training. It was even more difficult fighting through the embarrassment he felt at being in the same gym as such accomplished action stars as Keanu Reeves and Jason Statham. Well, we're certainly glad he did. Nobody is an absolute brutal symphony of an action movie, made all the more impressive because the least likely action star actually makes you believe. Well, that's today's video, guys. Thanks for going on this journey with us. Let us know how you like the video in the comment section. And also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel as we bring you more intriguing and thoughtful content in the future.